Hi, Paul Denon here for Cricket Unfiltered. I just cannot believe I've heard the news that Shane Warne has died at the age of 52, and I've been just scrolling through Twitter and joining in the sense of shock throughout the cricket world, the sporting world. The level of outpouring of grief is as to be expected, and I've just finished doing the podcast about the first day of the Australia versus Pakistan Test match. I can't get to sleep, so I thought I'd quickly record just a quick set of thoughts about Shane Warne, the bowler. There'll be plenty of other talking about Shane Warne, the person, but never having met him, it was through his bowling that he had the impact on me, that to the point where upon learning of his death, I felt physically sick, as I'm sure a lot of you did as well. But reflecting on happier times, when he came into the Australian side, it was at a time when spin was gone, and we'd had a succession of spinners who really didn't do any good, and genuinely was the attitude, there's just no point playing spinners. It's a romantic notion from a bygone era. The West Indies have shown the way. 4 quicks is the answer, and every time you play a spinner, it's just a wasted player. He came in on his debut, famously didn't do very well, 101 for 147 or whatever it was against India at the SCG in 91-92, and it was just, here's another in the procession of spinners who are no good. But he had some success against Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka, which went largely unnoticed at the time in Australia. Then the following summer, 92-93, the Boxing Day Test match, Australia's trying to push for a victory against the might of the West Indies. We were playing pretty well, but didn't look like we were going to win. Then Warne bowled a flipper that went straight under the bat of Richie Richardson, took, I think, 7 for 52. But I think even then, it was kind of like, this is a nice performance, but is this guy the real deal? And I remember watching the first test of the Ashes of 1993, and my dad and I, who had both been pretty strong critics of the need for spinners, were watching, and Dad suddenly said, they've got to get Shane Warne on. I thought, I didn't expect you to be calling for a spinner. He said, no, they've got to get Shane Warne on. So sure enough, Border threw in the ball, and of course he bowled the ball of the century. The remarkable thing about that, it's one of those things that it gets hyped up so often and so much that when I watch it, I keep on expecting to be disappointed, and yet it just lives up to it. It is the best ball bowled in the 20th century, I'm sure. Just an extraordinary moment to announce his presence in England, and from then on, he was just the most famous cricketer that Australia's ever produced in England since Bradman. The fame levels were unprecedented, and throughout the whole rest of his career, it was just great fun to watch him bowl. And you could have a game that was going nowhere, but when Shane Warne was throwing the ball, people would continue to watch. And the number of people interested in cricket because of Shane Warne is absolutely massive. He was the Dennis Lilly of the generation, the equivalent of the Dennis Lilly of the generation before, but he'd been a fast bowler with all of the swagger and all of the, fast bowlers have always been beloved. But for a spinner to be the number one draw card in Australian cricket for the entirety of his career was extraordinary. To go on and take over 700 wickets and to go down as one of the greats of the game is quite amazing. And it's a tribute to the fact that some leg spinners spin the ball a long way, some leg spinners are accurate. You very, very rarely get someone who is phenomenally accurate and can spin it a long way. If he didn't have either of those skills, he still would have been a fine bowler. If he was just someone who kept it accurate, very accurate, and turned it a tiny bit, he would have had a very successful career. Or if he wasn't accurate but had spun it prodigiously, he would have still had a successful career. But to do it both, that's when the magic came. And in the years since he's retired, I still loved hearing him in commentary most of the time. Some of the time I thought, oh, come on, Warnie. But at his best, he was one of the best commentators around, and it always made it an occasion. When Shane Warne walked into the commentary box, it was a sense of, whoa, this is the big time, because this is the most famous cricketer that Australia has had in generations. And there's a real sense of something special. So it's just utterly heartbreaking that he has died at such a young age. words can't express how sad it is. It's, someone that I've never met made me feel almost physically ill upon hearing the news, and just great sympathy to his family. And hopefully over the next few days, all of the wonderful stories about his career will be retold, and his legacy will never die. Shane Warne, rest in peace.